been nearly 1 year since the devastating floods of 2018. Hundreds of houses in the Des Moines metro were flooded and have since been bought out by the city and torn down. One of the most searing moments came in the days after the flooding. Ward 1 City Councilman Bill Gray, touring the flood damage, came face to face with the people who had their lives turned upside down. A year later, I got to speak to Mr. Gray about how the area has moved forward. It was one of the most searing moments in the days after the flooding. Ward 1 City Councilman Bill Gray, touring the flood damage, came face to face with the people who had their lives turned upside down.
Are we a priority, sir? Are we a priority?
A year later, on a much different type of day in Beaverdale, and touring some of those promised changes, Councilman Gray says he will never forget the anguish he saw.
But then you saw the amount of devastation that took place in all the other areas of the city. It tears your heart out. You know, you see people's prized possessions, prized belongings. People were throwing away old-time photo albums because they're ruined. A lot of history and a lot of memorabilia gone.
That heated encounter came from frustration over cleanup, and Gray says the city's response was inadequate. It's one of the greatest lessons he took from that day.
When I drove around and saw, our first response was, well, put a tag on it and stick it on the curb. And then we said, well, we'll have dumping sites that were poorly staffed. We knew then that we better go to the plan that we over-deliver and make the people happy. We finally realized that we have to let them put it out on the curb. We don't want people getting sick, stuck with all that stuff, throwing wet stuff in their car to go to a dump site. Didn't make any sense.
Gray is confident they're better prepared to handle the after effects of another catastrophic flood. But the big nagging question that remained, can the city do anything to keep water from building up and overwhelming the system, taking entire homes with it? The answer is yes, but with a lot of work.
To show you a construction project that is underway right now, we bring you to 41st and College in Beaverdale. This is a low-lying area with the closest creek bed just beyond those trees right there. Now imagine about 10 inches of rain falling in just a few hours and then flowing from all these different directions to this point. That creek bed overflowed, the water raced through the house that used to be on this lot and then crossed 41st Street to Germania. From there, it was all downhill.
That floodwater then all raged down Germania Drive, like we're showing you here, and it ended up at the storm drain at the mouth of Maquoketa Drive. Imagine all that water converging here and draining into this. There simply was nowhere for it all to go. So let's go back to that now empty lot on 41st and College Avenue. If you drive by, it may not look like much, but a lot is happening.
Engineers have already purchased this house. They're looking at 2 others in the back. And if we can do that, we're going to build a water retention basin back there. And what that will do is it'll hold the water back so that the normal clearance of the water coming through here can get through and then be released as a trickle after all the heavy water's been gone by.
Crews will also bore under 41st to build a larger sewer line and make the Maquoketa drain bigger, pushing the water to a ravine where it can then pass through safely. It's one of many weak spots the city wanted to correct right away, but with widespread devastation, money can be a barrier to progress.
You know, we took a look at where can we get some money. 1 cent sales tax was obviously big to go that way, and then increasing the stormwater management fees. If we can get those things doing, we can take projects that were like 5 years out, compress them into 3 and 2 years, and start to address the issues that these people are seeing firsthand. And I think when you know, we did the right thing when we put it on the ballot that we're not going to take this and just put this money into a slush fund that we're going to take from whenever we want to. If we would have said that, we wouldn't be here today. So we identified the areas, you know, with the first 50% was going to go to property tax relief. Then we said infrastructure and roads. And infrastructure meant sewers. That caught people's attention a lot. And I think it turned around. So if they can see an immediate benefit being done by increasing my sales tax by a penny, it's well worth it.
Voters in Des Moines overwhelmingly passed the penny tax increase. And Gray says when he walks around Beaverdale today, he gets a more positive response. Neighbors are involved in the recovery process and seeing construction like this with their own eyes.
When people see that we're going forward, we're getting the job done, that makes people feel a little bit better. They know that my basement's going to be dry. You know, you can take a little bit of turmoil and turn it into something if you react in the right way. And I think that's what we did.